Hello, sysfailure here again. Just welcome you back to part 2 of the Redstone Basics tutorial series. If you've missed part 1, it should just be popping up on the screen now. I said now. Seriously, who edits this thing? Now! Right, there we go. On the first episode, we covered all the various redstone components. A little bit heavy going, but all the information is pretty much in there. So today, what we're going to look at in episode 2 is the transfer of power from one place to another. Now, I'm just going to run through roughly what people tend to go through. So this makes perfect sense. Powers a piston. This one doesn't power the piston, but goes around it without touching it. So, again, makes sense. This one goes around the piston, but this one activates it. Over here, this one powers that block and the piston goes up. But it powers that block and that piston doesn't go up. And then this one does that. Round about here, that most people doing redstone pretty much go, I'm taking my blocks and I'm going home. Well, that's not what this series is about. This series is to try and teach you. So, if we just head on through here and we will discuss power transfer. Okay, simplest thing to start with, just turn this wire on here. You'll notice along this wire, the glow becomes less and less as it runs around and finally stops here next to this blue block. The maximum length a redstone signal can travel is 15 blocks. That's because it is stored as a 4-bit number which allows 16 values. So 15 right down to 0 are included. Now, if you want to continue the power, these days, if you just get rid of that, pop a redstone repeater at the end, and it re-strengthens the power to 15 coming out the front, in exchange for a delay of 1 redstone tick, or 2, 3, or 4, as you may wish. Now, the new component, adding 1.5, the comparator, if you put that in its place, you will notice it's actually just extended it here, so 2 blocks further. That's because this does not re-strengthen signals. It takes whatever comes in the back, which in this case is a signal in 1, and makes that go out of the front, which is 1 again, and then becomes 0. So it doesn't work like a repeater. Important to remember that. And just as a sort of historical thing, these are how you used to make power work over long distances before these. You'd have this setup, which was a bunch of torches and blocks. So your torch would be off, you'd have 15 wire, then that one was on, 15 wire, and so on, alternating. You would have to make sure that your end one was the same alternation as your start switch. Or you had these were your old style repeaters. So you'd put them on, and it took all this to basically make one of these. And you could only do 1 redstone tick delay. But they're just here for curiosity's sake. You really don't need to do them. You can have that. So, power transference. First off, we're going to look at the redstone torches. Now, these can be mounted on the side of blocks or on top of blocks. Now, they are unique in the respect that they do not send power down the way through what they're attached to, but they do send power up the way. And if we have a look up here, this dust is just indicating that the block beneath it is powered, so it's picking up power from that block. Also, you will notice this torch is turned off. That is because if you send power into redstone torch, it will turn off. So this one's now off. That's unpowered. This one is on. And a torch will send power into all spaces around it. So that one's in front. We do the sides, and obviously we've just confirmed it does above. And this one just shows that it does below. Now, you should always consider torches and the various other things, switches and stuff, to be blocks. As I will just run through. Now, these are the main sort of things you'll see. that pressure plate exists in its own block in the air, and they must always be mounted on top of a block. Buttons, they share this space here, and they always go on the side of a block. And switches, they go on any side or top or bottom, and they are still taking their own block space. So I could put a lever here if I wanted, but I couldn't put one there as this is taking up block space. But if I take it off, I could do that if I wanted. Why is all that I've been talking about important? Is it me just waffling? Well, no. With these, they have to attach to something, and for that purpose, you consider the block they're attached to be part of themselves as well. So we will come to that in just a second over there. Now, this is a redstone block. It was added in 1.5. Now, this block can be pushed or pulled or moved around as you wish, and it supplies power to anything that touches it. So I'm using dust just as an indication that the area is being powered. So this space here, as the dust basically takes up this whole block, is being powered. The whole block beneath is being powered, the whole one above, and the sides. That is what I mean by consider all these to be blocks. If you think of it as being its own block like this, then you will start to understand how it works. So if I turn this lever on here, it's happily floating in midair, but because it exists as this block, it's sending power out to the block here and the block here. Remember, I'm still referring to the block that the dust is in, not the one that it's sitting on. This one up here, turn that on, this block becomes powered, and this block here, that becomes powered as well. Just show, block, block. Now, I did mention obviously that you should consider that block that it's attached to be part of itself. Why did I say that? Well, we've confirmed that if I turn this switch on, it will send power to this block. So if this block was piston or whatever, that would be powered. However, if I turn it on here, you'll see the dust doesn't light up. But if I turn this one on, it does. That's because switches, pressure plates, etc. will power what they touch on any direction other than what they've attached to, but the power won't be passed through that item. Whereas if it's the block it's attached to, then that becomes part of the system that gives off power, like so. That applies to all the components. So here, the button and the block are all in a single item. So press the button, we get power out of both. Pressure plate, power out of the pressure plate, power out of the block. And even the tripwire hooks, if we just wander over here, you'll see that one is powering beneath it, powering the piston above, to the side, beneath the block it's attached to, and to the side of the block it's attached to. And that one you'll see doesn't get lit up, as that is not anywhere near this one or that one, therefore it doesn't get powered. Hopefully your brain's not melting by now, as I'm just trying to make it quite clear how power goes. So this is a final bit of showing it. So if we flick the lever on, you'll see power goes there because the piston extends. It shows it's getting this power out this way, so that's lighting up, and out of this block. But this one we know is powered, as shown by that, but no power gets transferred out. So that's definitely quite important to remember. This weird little contraption here, if we just flick the lever, this shows, if we assume there's another piston sitting on here, the blocks that should get powered by a lever and a block combo, as you can see. Now, I wish I could leave piston stuff there, but there's a couple of oddities I want to cover. Now, whilst you're doing little circuits and various things, you're almost guaranteed to encounter these. And these are buds, or block updates. There are glitches involving pistons. I'm not going to go into the hows and whys of them until a future episode actually on buds. But it does result in weird behaviour. So if you remember, I've shown here the ones that work. So that's one beneath the block. But in this case, the ones to the side turn on. But if I come over here and flick the lever, they don't. And I've put a block there. Depending if they're powered or not, that happens. So don't worry too much about these at the moment, but you will probably encounter them. It's a lot of it to do with diagonal powering of pistons. Same with this one. Turn it on, turn it off, no effect. I have to update the block. This one here as well. Remember from earlier over there, this is not being powered. However, if I do that, it pops out. And it will stay out until I get rid of the power source and do that. Now, pistons, it's also important to remember, if you watch this, they cannot receive power through their face by default. But if it touches the side, it does. So, for example, there. This one is powered from the front and no effect. Pistons don't know what line powers them. So this line here is going past, it's not touching the piston. I'll go more into dust in a second. But it comes round, it's powering it from the back, and if we turn it on, it breaks the line. And it will just do that every single time as it's not aware. Other strange little glitch. So that one, obviously not powered from the front, as we showed. Here, this, I will get through these sort of blocks in a minute, but this is glowstone. Glowstone does not transmit redstone power. You will also see this wire is not even facing anywhere near the piston, and it's not touching it. However, if I flick the lever, that piston is powered. If I remove the dust, no effect, put it back, and it's powered again. Even if I was to do this, it would break the dust. So, a few glitches like that, mostly diagonal powering. So, that's all various bits of buds. Feel free to ignore it at the moment. I just had to make it clear, as you're probably going to end up encountering them. So, we're going to move on with how wire works. You've seen this wire sitting around in various places. Well, a good way to think of this is basically the redstone dust as an actual wire. So, as you can see, it goes along and it turns corners, and it can be up to anything like a cross. So this obviously goes in 4 directions. I'll also mention, if we just have a look at this one, this splodge used to be a cross, but now it's a dot. That still powers in 4 directions. Important to remember. So if I was to do that, that goes in 4 directions. If I do that, that only powers things on that end of the wire and not to the side. So let's flip our lever and see what's going on here. Well, we've got 3 pistons up, but why? Well, this one is next to our power source, which, if you remember from over there, means it will get powered. This wire goes along here, around here, and into the side of this one, so it's obviously powered. It goes around this one, but doesn't go into it, so it doesn't set it off. But it sets this one off. As you would have noticed, out the little front there, we had a similar sort of thing. And why does it do that? Well, dust is basically, as I said, a wire. But if you think of it as an uninsulated wire, or a bare wire, if you had a bare wire and you say stuck it in water, the water would be electrified. It's the same here. So this wire is actually making all the blocks beneath the wire powered as well. So that wooden block underneath, and that one, that one, that one, and so on, are all powered, which is supplying power to the piston, which is making it go up. So wire will always do that without fail. I'm going to cover one other little oddity in regards to the wire here. I mentioned over there glowstone. Glowstone doesn't transmit power. So this wire is sitting on the top, is not powering this block, not powering this block. So we shouldn't be able to activate them, should we? Well, if we flick the lever, as you can see, they do. That's because dispensers and pistons, those sort of thing, can be set off by having the air block above them powered. So the end of this wire is actually powering the air block. Should mention, in Minecraft, all blocks have an ID, and even where you think there's nothing, that's actually a block of air. So it's being powered, basically. It's a little odd, but useful to remember. Now, this little contraption, this is just to show you the difference between uninsulated power and insulated power. So if we just flick that, you'll see this one goes up, so obviously that wood's powered. This one doesn't, because the repeater here is a sealed unit, so you'll see the redstone is inside. So it doesn't power the box beneath it, or to the sides or anything, so that doesn't go up. And the same with the comparator. It doesn't power out to the side or beneath, so this one here hasn't gone up either. You see? Now, I just want to now talk about different types of power, and that is weakly powered and strong power, or strongly powered. So if we just flick this, we have a bit of wire running into a block. Now, when it does that, the block is powered, and it's detected by this comparator here, and the repeater detects it as well. But the wire on top and coming out the side, as far as it's concerned, no power is travelling in there. So that is weakly powered. This one, however, is going in through a repeater. So if we turn that on, you will see the comparator knows about it, the repeater knows about it, and the wire on top and the wire on the side are aware of it as well, as basically this block becomes a power source. When it's next to power source, you'll notice redstone wire, even though it's not facing it, will still receive power. So that's a visual thing. So it's effectively the same as doing this, which if you remember earlier, turns this into a single power entity, and there's everything being powered, and obviously that one's across. There are a couple of oddities in regards to this when you come to redstone lamps, dispensers, and droppers. Now, this redstone lamp, you'll see it's being strongly powered, so we turn it on, and as we would expect, gets detected by the repeater, powers the wire, and it also sends power to the block next to it. However, this one weakly powered, so the repeater knows about it, the wire doesn't, but the lamp will still power one it's attached to if it's directly powered, such as in this case. Similar thing happens here. We have weak power travelling into the middle dropper there, and if I flick the lever, it will activate itself, and one on each side and up and down as well. And the same goes for the dispensers here. So that's pretty much most of the power transfer. We'll talk about upwards power once we're over there. I just want to cover what you can actually attach all these various components to. Now, tripwire hooks, you can only attach them to solid blocks. And the same are little levers here. We can put them on the solid block here, And over here, you'll notice they're on these blocks as well. So we've got the solid block. They will go on the top of upside down steps and on upside down half slabs, but that's all they'll go on. And if you're putting them on the bottom of something, they will only go on the bottom of a solid block. Torches will do solid blocks, upside down stairs, half slabs, and interestingly, glass. This means if you're using them on multiple layers, you can actually stack them like that, and this won't power this block as it's transparent, and that doesn't turn off them. And then you can just see that our pressure plates, comparators, repeaters also only go on that type of block. Wire is a little bit different. The wire, as you can see here, is running along the top of the block, same as before, but it can go on top of the glowstone as well. If you remember from over there, I also said that wire is uninsulated and will pass power into what it sits on. This only applies to the solid blocks. So you will see here, this block is outputting power, but the stairs, half slab and glowstone, and obviously the glass, if we could put wire on it, it wouldn't output anything anyway, as it doesn't transmit power, as shown by the torch. But that is quite important, that these don't transmit power, so you can use them in certain parts of builds, which I will show you in another episode. And this is just to show you can even put them on top of things like hoppers, stick them on your droppers, your dispensers, even your note blocks if you want. But I will mention, in regards to note blocks, if you put stuff on top of them like that, you notice no notes. If you are placing stuff on top of things like this, you right click and open them, just hold down shift when you place it, and it will go on, just like that. So these transparent blocks do have another couple of uses. You'll see here I have a weakly powered block. Now you should remember from over there that running this in will not be able to power that as it's weakly powered. And this obviously is cutting off any connection. So if we turn it on, as you can see, nothing. If I let it connect, the power's on, and cut it off again. The transparent blocks, however, allow power to pass. Now, glowstone is an odd one because it just looks like a dot on the surface. But that wire is actually going along here, up the side, and on the top. The glass one actually shows it better, but the glass is wearing exactly the same as the glowstone in that respect. Half slab, power goes through. Upside down half slab, power goes through as well. Stairs, there we go. Also, as these don't transfer power, you will notice I have a torch there, and this is nothing happening. Obviously, if I put a block above this, it'll be powered. Well, this will happen. And then your torch burns out. So you don't want to go doing that, as you can get yourself in confusing little loops. Final few things is sending your power up the way. Now obviously we know how to send it vertically and over blocks, if this wasn't here, just like that. Now you can send your power up in a spiral if you wish, so round and round like that. And if we turn it on at the bottom, you will see it goes right up to the top. And also if we turn it on to the top, it goes back down to the bottom. You can do that up to the maximum 15 blocks, and then you'll need something to re-strengthen the signal. But that's a way of making it go up or down. Now, a couple of ways of making it only go up. This was the old way of doing it. So torches, like that, zigzagging. This has an unlimited height. So you can go right from the bottom of the world right to maximum build height. But each torch has a delay. So if I just flip the lever, You'll see they go on in sequence, so the more and more you go up, the slower and slower it transfers. Well, glowstone and slabs allow you to send power up because they're transparent. There obviously is the visual glitches again that look like they're not connected. So our power is happily going up to there. However, torches, which send power up, as we mentioned earlier, can't make their cells go back down again. So if I was to try and power the top of that, it wouldn't go down. That's the same with the glowstone. So power that, it's not going down. Even though it looks like it's connected. Same with the half slabs. Turn this one on, power goes up. Turn this one on, and no power goes down. So these are fantastic ways of sending power up the way, not down the way. So it's restricted basically. And because you're not running it through lots and lots of torches, well, she'll still have to re-strengthen the signal every 15 blocks. For those 15 blocks, the power transfer is instant rather than having a tick or two between each torch. And you will notice this visually doesn't look like it hooks up, but it is connected. So it's good to assume that this is just a solid block here that doesn't happen to transmit power and doesn't block it. Right, well, I think that's probably more or less everything in regards to the transfer of power. So hopefully that doesn't confuse you too much. The world download will be in the description. As previously, it will be updated every time there's new information for it. So any of the videos you watch will have the latest world download available. And that's pretty much it. So I'm going to catch a train and head off to the next episode. There we go. So thanks for watching, and bye-bye.